Okay, everybody. So hopefully you can all see that okay. So as I said, we're here tonight to talk about the Global Citizenship Marine Environment theme. And this is actually a really nice theme. It's really interesting, and there's lots of fun activities and things that you can do to get your students interested in it. So hopefully you'll get something to take away from tonight. So first off, just a little bit about who we are, if anyone isn't that familiar with Green Schools. Green Schools programme is run by the Environmental Education Unit of An Taisce. So An Taisce is a charity. We're basically the National Trust for Ireland, and we look after preserving Ireland's built heritage and our natural environment as well. So there are lots of different programs within the Environmental Education Unit. You might be familiar with some of them. You might have heard of the Blue Flag before, which is an award scheme for beaches. There's the Green Campus program, which is kind of like green schools for colleges and universities. There's the National Spring Clean campaign. So that's a big nationwide cleanup campaign that happens every April. There's the Clean Coasts program. So that is to encourage community groups to go out and clean up a stretch of beach or river in their area to try and protect their local aquatic environment. So there's loads of different programs there. You might have come across some of them before. So what does Green Schools actually do? So Green Schools is actually an international program. Internationally, we're known as Eco Schools, and we're internationally coordinated by the Foundation for Environmental Education, which is based in Denmark. So Eco Schools is all over the world. It's in about 70 different countries worldwide. So all of these schools are working through similar 7-step processes that you guys will be doing, and they all get the same green flag when they're awarded as well. So it's nice to know that you're really kind of part of something much bigger there by taking part in the Green Schools program. So the Green Schools program is also an award scheme. So we're trying to reward you for a certain level of sustainability that you can show within your school. And it's very much a long-term program. So if your school is now on the marine theme, it's probably been working on Green Schools for like 16 years or so, because the marine theme is the 8th theme of the Green Schools program. So we really believe in kind of trying to integrate Green Schools into the culture of the school and making it very holistic and long-term. So in terms of just our spread in that, we're in 3,677 schools around the country. It's a voluntary program, so schools all sign up, which is great. So that's nearly 90% of all the schools in Ireland, and we've got approximately 900,000 students involved and 90,000 teachers. So it's really quite a big impact. And these are just some of the kind of savings and statistics of what schools have achieved through Green Schools last year. So apologies for the quality of the image, it's not great. But like last year, we had 74 schools getting their very first green flag, which is brilliant. We had 747 schools in total being awarded a green flag. And we just saw a huge increase in knowledge and awareness and actions taken across all the different themes. So just in terms of how we actually work then. So ourselves in An Taisce would coordinate Green Schools within the country, and we would come up with workshops, events, competitions, all those kind of things that you can take part in within your theme throughout the year. We also are the ones who would be reading through your green flag applications whenever you are applying for your flag or to renew your flag. All the different sustainability themes. So we currently have 10 different sustainability themes that your school will work through. These are all supported by different sponsors. So they might be government bodies or they might be industry. So the marine theme is sponsored by the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage. We work very closely with our partners in the local authorities. So whenever you're going for your flag renewal, you need to arrange a visit out to your school from the Environmental Awareness Officer in your local authority. And that person might also be able to provide you with additional supports in your area. So if there are any kind of relevant opportunities or competitions that the local authority might be running, or maybe the local authority might have grants that you could apply for your Green Schools work. You can link in with them as well. And then, of course, it's yourselves in the schools who are doing the work on the ground and trying to get the whole school and wider school community involved. So just again, what I mentioned there, the Environmental Awareness Officer is the person that you can contact for your renewal visit. And just with the regions that we have tonight, so in Dún Laoghaire Rathdown County Council, it's Martina Keogh. In South Dublin County Council, it's Fionnuala Ryan. In Fingal, it's Sinead Fox, and in Dublin City Council, it's Audrey Duff. So they might have been in touch with you already. We will be sending on the slides at the end of this presentation with their contact details, so you'll be able to get in touch with them if you need to. So this is just our inclusivity statement, and we just want to include this to really make a point that everybody is very welcome in Green Schools, regardless of your race, gender, sexuality, religion. Like, we want to have absolutely everybody involved. So that goes for students and staff, and we hope that that will be reflected in your school as well. So I mentioned the 10 different Green Schools themes that we have. So you can see how you work through them there. You do have to work through them in consecutive order. So most of you should have achieved your first 7 flags by now. Excuse me, there might be 1 or 2 schools who might have had to skip a couple in the middle. But pretty much everyone should have gotten those 7 flags, and now you're working on the marine environment flag. So the first 5 flags are really kind of the core themes, as we call them. And then we move on to the global citizenship themes, where we're revisiting like litter and waste and energy and water, but on a much wider, more global scale. So why do we actually have a marine theme? So the marine environment is, arguably our most important environment, or one of our most important environments. Over 70% of the Earth's surface is covered in water, and 97% of that is ocean. So a lot of people don't realize that the oceans are actually responsible for producing over half of the oxygen in the atmosphere. Scientists estimate that it's somewhere between 50 and 80% of the oxygen in the atmosphere actually comes from the oceans. It's not just our forests, which people might be more familiar with. The oceans also regulate our climate. So in Ireland, obviously we're an island, so we're hugely impacted by having the Atlantic Ocean around us. The oceans are also absorbing 90% of the excess heat out of the atmosphere, and about 1/4 of the excess carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. So if it wasn't for the ocean, we'd be seeing much more severe impacts of climate change already. We have a really, really rich marine biodiversity within Ireland. So we've got over 20 species of whales and dolphins, over 30 species of sharks. We're very, very important globally for seabirds. There's lots of nesting sites for seabirds here that are really, really important worldwide. And primary schools can learn a bit more about marine biodiversity through our Seakeepers project, which I'll be talking about a bit later on. So then, as well as that, there's loads more reasons that we need the ocean. Production of food, for one. So it's not just kind of fish and shellfish. There's also ingredients in lots of other foods that we actually source from the ocean. So, for example, carrageenan is a seaweed product, which is often used in ice cream. You can also get it in jellies. It's used as a thickening agent. So also the production of raw materials, things like medicines, providing employment for people, so massive employment sector in terms of fisheries and shipping, tourism, sports and recreation, bringing people into the country, wanting to spend time at the ocean as well, which is very good for our well-being and mental health, as well as our physical health. So there's lots of reasons that we really need to protect the marine environment. And before I move on to the next section, I think I saw Audrey Duff come in there from Dublin City Council. I don't know, Audrey, if you'd like to say hello to anybody or...
Yeah, thanks, Caoimhe. Sorry to interrupt you. Thanks so much everyone for joining in this evening. So yeah, I'm from Dublin City Council, so I'm the Green Schools officer there. So for any schools who are from the Dublin City Council area, I'll be kind of one of your main points of contact for the programme. I'm available to give you some on the ground support if you need to contact me at all. Caoimhe probably has my contact details in a slide there, but it's greenschools@dublincity.ie is my email address. So just feel free to contact me. I'll also probably carry out your renewal visits. So if there's anyone here from Dublin City Council region who's on year 2 of this team and would like to book in your renewal visit, just contact me as soon as you can and we can get that sorted for you. So that's all. I won't take up any more of your time. So thanks so much, Caoimhe. I'll pass it back there now.
Thanks, Audrey. Thanks for that.
Cheers. Thank you.
I don't know if there's any other environmental awareness officers there in the background that I haven't seen come in, but feel free to interrupt me at any point if you are there and you want to say hello. So those are all kind of the reasons that we need to protect the marine environment. But what are we protecting it from? Well, unfortunately, there's lots of issues impacting the marine environment, particularly litter, which I think we would all be quite aware of and which we focus on a lot in this theme because it's so tangible and hands-on and easy for students to understand. Then there's other kind of pollution sources, so things like chemical pollution, noise pollution, climate change, which I mentioned briefly, overfishing. So this is when we're just taking out too many fish out of the ocean so that the fish populations don't have a chance to reproduce and repopulate. And invasive species. So this is when animals or plants from one habitat are moved to another habitat, so that they might be accidentally moved. You know, they might get caught in water in ships, for example, or they might be deliberately moved, but they can cause an awful lot of damage when they're introduced to a new habitat where they haven't evolved. So as I said, we're kind of focusing on marine litter. So marine litter is a massive problem. About 80% of marine litter originates from land. And when we see litter on the beach, that's only really about kind of 15% of the problem. It's only representative of about 15% of the litter in the ocean environment. So another 15% is suspended in the water column, and at least 70% is actually found on the seabed. So we're really only kind of seeing the tip of the iceberg when we think of marine litter. So we might have a few schools here who aren't particularly close to the sea, but I just kind of want to drive home the point that the marine environment theme and the importance of our oceans is very relevant to absolutely everybody, regardless of whether your school is right in the middle of the country or on the beach or where you're based. So we all rely on the oceans for oxygen, for water, for biodiversity, all these things that I mentioned earlier on. And we can also impact the ocean by our carbon footprint and also by littering and those kind of habits. So if you drop a piece of litter in the middle of the country, it'll often end up getting washed into a drain or into a river and finding its way down to the sea as well. So don't underestimate the impact that you can have. So we do have a nice resource called When the River Meets the Sea. It's a presentation and it's all about kind of looking at the links between inland places and the coast. So I recommend having a look at that. If you think that might be relevant to you, it's available on the resources section of our website. It's kind of loosely aimed at around 3rd or 4th class. So that was just kind of an introduction to why we have a marine theme, why the oceans are important. Like there's a huge amount of research that you could do yourself. You know, huge number of reasons why we need to look after our oceans. But I'm just going to get into the 7 steps of the marine theme now. So looking at what you need to do to achieve your flag. Just in case anyone's a little bit unsure, you need to work on the theme for 2 academic years. So if you just started in September, just gone, then you'd be looking to renew your flag in March 2025. And if you're in your year 2 working on the theme and you're working your way through the 7 steps, then you should be in a position to apply for the flag this year. And the deadline is 15th of March 2024 for that, but I'll be mentioning that again later on. The Marine Handbook is your real guide to the theme. All Year 1 schools should have gotten this in the post a few weeks ago. Year 2 schools should have gotten it when they started the theme, but we'll also send you on a soft copy of this at the end of the presentation as well. So you can always refer back to the handbook, and it's very comprehensive and tells you everything really that you need to do to get your Marine flag. So step 1 is setting up your Green Schools Committee. So this is going to be the students in charge of green schools within your school. So it'll be headed usually by yourself, the Green Schools Coordinator. And then it's great if you can have representative from every class or year group within the school on the committee, just to make sure that as many kind of sections of the school are involved as possible. You can also have additional members, like maybe the school caretaker, cleaning staff, other teachers, the principal, parents, anybody like that who'd like to be involved. It is great to give the students as much ownership over the programme as they can, as you can, but obviously it depends on the age of the students. So if you're a teacher in a secondary school, you know, you might be able to give a lot of ownership of the programme over to the students. If you're in a primary school, obviously they'll need a lot more kind of hand-holding and guidance there. Step 2 is the environmental review. So this is basically trying to find out what you know about the marine theme at the start of your work on the theme, so that you can then kind of measure your progress against that. So we've got a couple of essential actions that you have to do as part of your environmental review. The first one is to do a marine litter awareness survey. So for this, you want to ask these questions to the students and staff in your school. So have they ever heard of marine litter? Can they list 3 sources of marine litter? Can they list 3 reasons why marine litter is bad for the marine environment? Can they list 3 ways we can prevent marine litter entering the marine environment? And can they list 3 ways in which climate change affects the marine environment? So once everybody in the school has answered that, you just need to work out the percentages there for your answers for year 1. And then you're going to be repeating this survey in year 2. And hopefully by year 2, you'll see a big increase in levels of awareness within the school. If you're giving the survey to much younger students, you can, of course, explain, you know, kind of marine environment means the ocean and the sea and that kind of thing. This is the kind of terminology that we're hoping the students will be more familiar with by the end of the theme. The second essential action is to carry out a 2-minute beach clean or 2-minute street clean as part of your work on the theme. So that really just means carrying out a cleanup for 2 minutes. It can be in your schoolyard, it could be in a local park. If you're by the beach, it can be at the beach. That'd be brilliant, but it's not a requirement to be at the beach. It can be anywhere near you. So the idea is that you carry out a cleanup for 2 minutes, excuse me, and then you take a photo of all the litter that you gather within that 2 minutes, and you upload the photograph to social media using the hashtag 2-minute beach clean or hashtag 2-minute street clean. And you can tag us at Green Schools as well. And the idea is just to raise awareness of marine litter and litter in general, and also to show, you know, the scale of the impact that you can make in as little time as 2 minutes. You know, if you get a big crowd of students out doing that, you can collect an awful lot in a very short amount of time. There's a video there by Martin Dorey, who founded this initiative. I'm not going to play it now because my PowerPoint is just acting up a little bit with videos at the minute, but we will pop that that link in the chat and send it on to you afterwards, so you can have a look at that if you're interested. And then the third essential action of the environmental review is to investigate sources of marine litter and try to take some kind of action to reduce that. So there's an awful lot of sources of marine litter out there. The ones that you focus on can kind of depend on, again, the age of the students, you know, what you've identified in your school as a big source of marine litter in the school. So maybe plastic straws or like just lunchbox plastics might be a big problem within your school. So you could try to raise awareness about reducing that, you know, encouraging maybe a plastic-free lunch day, you know, where students don't bring in any packaged food for their lunch. That might be something that you could do. Just kind of learning about other sources of marine litter as well, that students might not already be aware of. So, for example, secondary school students might be interested in learning about microfibers, which are little plastic fibers that come off any synthetic clothing that you have whenever you put it in the wash. You know, so things like nylon or polyester are essentially just plastics. So little plastic fibers from them can come out in the washing machine and end up washing down into the ocean. And when microplastics get into the ocean, they're very, very difficult to remove because they're so small. And they can ending up in the food chain because fish will eat them, and then large fish will eat those fish, and it can lead to a buildup of chemicals in the ocean, which is very bad for wildlife and also for human health as well. Things like balloons. If you're having any celebrations in your school, it'd be great to kind of ban balloon releases because these are essentially just massive littering events. And look at things like maybe planting trees instead. You can also learn about things like cargo spills. So there was a big cargo spill in the 90s where a shipping container full of rubber ducks went overboard, I think somewhere in the Atlantic maybe. And those rubber ducks are still showing up all over the world today. So there's lots of different things that you can investigate and learn about there. But, you know, making simple changes in the school, like trying to introduce reusable bottles instead of single-use plastic bottles, that would have a massive impact on the amount of plastic being used in your school. Step 3 is your action plan. So for this, you're trying to promote actions to reduce marine litter and to raise awareness about the marine environment as well. So I mentioned there a plastic-free lunch campaign, raising awareness about microplastics. Glitter would be another microplastic. Introducing reusable bottles, encouraging reusable straws, using things like traditional crayons instead of like twistable crayons, which are encased in plastic. So there's lots of things that you can do there. And in terms of increasing awareness levels, making sure that you keep your Green Schools notice board up to date with anything that you're doing, with the findings of your litter awareness survey. If you've got any artwork or research projects or anything that different classes are working on, you know, you could have them on display in the school as well. And yeah, there's loads of things that you could carry out projects on. So you could look at different marine animals. You could look at ocean currents, ocean garbage patches, climate change in the ocean. So there's lots of different things that you could do there. So when you're submitting your flag application, you need to upload a copy of your action plan, and that should be laid out in table format like this. So we'll send you on an action plan template if you don't have one already, but basically you need to have your action. So that might be create a poster display on marine animals. The person's responsible for carrying out that action. So in this case, that might be 4th class and Miss somebody. The target date that you want to achieve it by, so you could say November, and then the progress made. So you could say, oh yeah, we completed this and we displayed it on the 23rd of November. Or you could say this had to be set back because something came up and we're going to do it in the new year. You should have your action plan on display on your Green Schools notice board, so that all of the school community can see kind of what you're working on, and so that when the environmental awareness officer comes out to your school to do your renewal visit, they can see it as well. So you may or may not be aware of the Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals. These are 17 goals that were put together by the United Nations in 2015 to try and basically make the world a better place in terms of society, economies, and the environment. So An Taisce are actually SDG champions for Ireland for 2023-2024. So we're really trying to raise awareness and promote the SDGs and kind of act as a good practice example for promoting the SDGs as well. So it might be a really interesting one for you to do a project on and learn a bit more about. If you go to globalgoals.org, you'll find lots of resources there. As I said, there's 17 goals. They're all very interlinked, but the most relevant one for this theme is goal 14, life below water. Excuse me. So step 4 is monitoring and evaluation. So this is basically checking to make sure you're actually making progress on the theme. So your kind of monitoring and evaluation can be ongoing. One of the main things that you're going to do is repeat your marine litter awareness survey in year 2, and then you'll have an idea of the increase in awareness among the school community. You could also do other things, like you could, do a survey of how many students bring a single-use plastic bottle to school, or how many single-use plastic bottles did we collect in our recycling bins in 1 week in year 1 versus in 1 week in year 2. How many more people are bringing reusable bottles a year on. So again, it's very much kind of up to yourselves what you do with this, but you just want to be tracking your progress and seeing that you're making an impact, because that's very, very encouraging when you can see that you are actually having an impact. Another one might be, are you carrying out more regular cleanups than you would have been previously? And make sure to celebrate all your successes. When you see that you are making a difference, you should definitely celebrate that with your class and with your school. Step 5 is curriculum links. So this is just trying to link the marine theme into your class subjects in any way. It's not very strict or prescriptive or anything. If you end up doing kind of marine posters or artwork, that can go down as linking to art. If you do any experiments to do with the ocean, that can link into science. Studying the water cycle would link in with geography. Creative writing. So there's lots of different things that you can do. I'll send you on our curriculum links template, which you also need to upload with your application form. And that's literally just to list the activities that you did. So you might have, 4th class did marine posters or marine dioramas or something like that in October 2023. Transition year students watched a marine documentary in February 2024. You just need to give us a list. Basically, you don't need to send us examples of the work that you did. Step 6 is informing and involving. So this is trying to make sure that the whole school is involved, not just the Green Schools Committee, and also the wider school community. So parents maybe linking in with a local Tidy Towns group or Clean Coast group if there is one near you. So just trying to make sure that everyone can know what's going on. So as I said, updating your Green Schools notice board. You could have committee members making announcements over the intercom about any work that you're doing, and putting it in your school newsletter or on your school website, and sending information home. Having a little green school stand at your school's open day, anything like that. And you need to carry out an action day as part of your work on the marine theme. So this is just to raise awareness about the importance of the marine environment and try to involve the wider community as much as you can. So it's very much up to yourselves what you do for that. If you are near the coast and you could organise a trip to the beach, then that would be an absolutely lovely action day to carry out. If you're not, there's still lots of other things that you could do. You could have the whole school carry out projects on different marine animals. You could maybe screen a marine documentary for older classes. You could have a marine litter art kind of upcycling day, a marine fancy dress day. If there's any people in the community that you know, like parents or anything that might be working in the marine sector, and you could have them in to give a talk. It's very much up to yourselves what you do for your action day. And step 7 is the Green Code. So this is just your school's motto or slogan or song or rap or poem, whatever you like, to promote the marine environment theme and your kind of mission statement for the marine theme. So it should be relevant to your marine theme. I know sometimes some schools will add on like an extra line for every theme that they do. And you should have this displayed on your Green Schools notice board, and hopefully all the students in the school should be familiar with it as well. So you might have a competition to come up with the Green Code, or alternatively, the committee students might have a little brainstorm and come up with it together. It's very much kind of up to yourselves. So just to recap on that then, so the first step is your Green Schools Committee. What I should have mentioned earlier on as well, so your Green Schools Committee can meet, some will meet weekly, some will meet every fortnight, every month, or every term. Like, it's very much dependent on your own school circumstances. If you like, then you can have different roles for the students in the committee. So, you might have the chairperson or the secretary, or you might have roles to do with the different maintenance of the different teams. So you might have students involved in checking bins to make sure they're being used correctly to maintain the litter and waste theme. You might have students who are in charge of making sure that the lights are off in classrooms that aren't being used, that taps are being properly turned off in toilets at break times. So yeah, that's very much up to yourselves. And when you're applying for your green flag, you do need to submit a sample of one of your committee meeting minutes. So it can just be like one sheet, telling us who was at the meeting, the date of the meeting, and the kind of main points discussed and any action points from that as well. Step 2 is your environmental review. So as I said, you've got your essential actions for that: the Marine Litter Awareness Survey, the 2-minute beach or street clean, and investigating and trying to reduce sources of marine litter within the school. Step 3 is your action plan. So you need that laid out in table format, like I showed you. Step 4 is monitoring. So that's conducting the second Marine Litter Awareness Survey and just kind of keeping track of anything. Step 5 is linking to the curriculum. Step 6 is informing and involving the wider community as much as you can and holding your action day. And step 7 then is your Green Code. So that is the 7 steps. I'm just going to tell you a bit now about the resources that we have and different competitions and workshops and opportunities that we have available to you on this theme as well. So if you go to our website, greenschoolsireland.org/resources, you'll find our bank of resources there, and you're able to filter them by primary school or secondary school, and by kind of type of resource as well, and by theme. So these are some of the marine resources. You can see on the right there the When the River Meets the Sea presentation that I mentioned earlier on, specifically kind of geared at inland schools. And over on the left, there's a river and ocean worksheet that goes along with that. When you started on the theme, you should have received a copy of our Let's Go Plastic Free Top Tips booklet, which is to kind of help you to reduce single-use plastics within your school. And there's posters to go along with that as well. We have species fact sheets as well. And we also have some presentations relevant to secondary school students. So we have quite a lot of resources up there. Just in terms of applying for your flag, so as I mentioned earlier on, if you're in year 2 and you feel that you're going to be ready to apply for the flag this year, then the deadline is 15th of March 2024. you need to arrange a renewal visit to your school before that date. And I would recommend getting in touch with your environmental awareness officer sooner rather than later to book that in, even if the visit itself isn't going to happen until maybe January or February. It's good to book it in because they do get very busy. And you can access our flag application forms at greenschools.submit.com, or go to our website and then click apply at the top right hand corner, and then just navigate your way to the marine environment flag application. So you can start working on that whenever you like and save for later. I wouldn't submit it until you're happy that you have all of your work done on the 7 steps. So you want to be kind of submitting it in February or very beginning of March. But you should have your renewal visit done before you submit your application form, because we will ask you for the date and details of your renewal visit on the application form. And as I said, deadline 15th of March. So just in terms of kind of events that we have coming up. So we have regional primary marine workshops coming up in November. You can apply for spaces at these through our online form. So Jennifer might share that link in the chat. These are booking up really fast. You should have gotten an email about it there earlier in the week. So we only have a few spaces left at these. So if you would like to apply, then I'd encourage you to do that straight away. And if we don't have spaces for you, we'll try to put you on a waiting list. So the Dublin workshop is going to be in Leopardstown in South Dublin, and that's going to be on the 23rd of November. So you can sign up to that through the online form. And you're invited to bring 5 people from your school, that's including the teacher. So basically a carload of people from each school can come to that, because we do have quite limited spaces. Our Life Below Water virtual workshops, then these are pre-recorded workshops with a narrated presentation which talks through the marine environment and marine litter, the marine environment and climate change, and then global citizenship as well, and going for your green flag. The workshops are aimed at kind of 3rd and 4th class, I suppose 2nd to 4th class, and there's lots of information on different kind of art activities and experiments that you can set up in class to have ready alongside the workshop. So really all you need to do is kind of press play and the workshop plays itself. It's in 4 different sections, so you can choose to spread it out over a few days if you like. So we will be posting a USB key to all of our Year 1 schools with this workshop material on it. We're just waiting for those to come into stock, so it will hopefully be out to schools before Christmas. And I should have mentioned that our in-person workshops, they would be loosely aimed at kind of 3rd or 4th class students as well. The Seakeepers project that I mentioned earlier on focuses on marine biodiversity. And so Ireland has a really rich marine biodiversity, as I mentioned, but people aren't really that aware of it. So we want to raise that awareness and increase knowledge among students about our marine plants and animals. So to sign up for this, you need to get 10 students in your class to complete a species identification survey, which you can download from our website. And then you compile all the results from those 10 students and send them back into us on a data collection sheet that you can also download. So they're just asked to name 6 different marine plants and animals based on a photograph and see if they know what it is. You can find out all the information at greenschoolsireland.org/the Seakeepers project there, and we'll be sending you on that link as well. So at the minute, the deadline for registrations for Seakeepers is the Halloween break. I can't remember what date that is now, but yeah, the Halloween break. So if you can get those into us as soon as you can, if you'd like to take part. And then once we get all your data in, we send you out a link to 6 presentations about these 6 different species. And there's also activities that you can carry out in class to encourage you to do like a project and learn a bit more about all these different species. The project is aimed at, again, kind of 3rd and 4th class, but we also have a junior version, which is aimed at senior infants 1st, 2nd class, and you can adjust the pitch yourselves as you see fit. But yeah, we've got lots of lovely resources. We actually have brand new species this year. So anyone that has taken part in Sea Keepers in previous years, we have brand new 6 species for you to learn about this year. So I'd really encourage you to sign up for that. Later in the year, you would repeat that survey with those students again. And then from the surveys that we get back, we pick at random a winner who gets to have a free beach exploration workshop for their class in June next year. And this is just a little video of the beach exploration workshop that we did a couple of years ago. As I said, my videos aren't really working tonight, but you can see that video on our website, and we'll send the link as well. So another thing that we have coming up is the Marine Spatial Planning Competition. So this is open for entries at the minute, and you should have received information about it in the post last week. And this is trying to get students to think a little bit about how we use our ocean area. So, you know, would they like to see more marine protected areas for animals, you know, where nothing is kind of going on in that section of ocean? Do they think we should have more offshore wind farms? Just kind of, yeah, trying to introduce that concept. It's very much an up and coming sector, which we foresee a lot of jobs to be in the future. So it might be particularly relevant to secondary school students as well. But there's age categories there for infants up to secondary school. The theme is what I'd like to see for the sea, and there's some lovely prizes there as well. First place winners will get an art workshop for their class, €150 one for all voucher, frame poster, and they'll be invited to our award ceremony. So the deadline for entries to that is the 24th of November. In the new year, we will have our Marine Creative Writing competition. So that'll be launching in January. That's also open to primary and secondary schools. And it's a really, really popular competition. We had about 350 entries there last year. And it's just lovely. We get some lovely stories and poems in for that competition. And we have some really nice prizes, and the winners get a gorgeous trophy as well. So I'd strongly encourage you to get some of your students to enter that competition as well. For secondary school students, we have our Marine Film Club. So this is where we screen an environmental documentary, and then we have an expert or special guest come on to talk about some of the issues raised in the documentary and give students the opportunity to ask them their questions. So we do cinema events for this, and we do online events as well. So we're hoping to run a cinema event in Dublin before Christmas. We're still just trying to pin down the date for that, but there will be an email sent out about that once that's all organised, and we'd love you all to sign up for that if you're a secondary school in the area. And we will also have online events then later in the year run through Zoom. This is another secondary school initiative called the Marine Ambassador School, and we basically pick a school every year from our secondary schools working on the theme. They have to apply to be Marine Ambassadors, and the winning school of that will kind of act as leaders on the theme for that academic year. So they get their Marine Ambassador hoodies. We do a training day with them at their school, and we would also bring them on a field trip. So applications for that closed last week, and we'll be getting in touch with the winners of that very soon. Then in April, we have Marine Week from the 15th to the 19th this year. So this is an online celebration of the ocean. during Marine Week, we will have live Zoom talks for primary schools and secondary schools throughout the week, that you can log in to join us for those. We'll also have videos about different marine animals. We'll have lots of lovely art activities and experiments, excuse me. And we'll have spot prizes throughout the week for schools that engage with us on social media and show us the work that they've been doing throughout Marine Week. So if you're planning an action day, it might be a nice time to arrange that during that week, the 15th to the 19th of April. We'll have more information about that in the new year. And during that week, we're going to have our National Marine Conference. So this is a one-day event for primary school students working on the marine theme. And they basically come along to the conference for the day. Each, a school can apply to send one class group of students to the conference. We do lots of different talks and activities with them throughout the day. There's group work. We'll have an interesting special guest speaker. And students will also have to bring a project with them, which we'll set up in a little exhibition space. So all the students will be able to learn from each other and see the different projects they carried out. It's a really, really lovely event. It's a real highlight of the year. So I would encourage you to keep an eye out for information about that. We do move the conference every year, so we haven't confirmed the location for it yet, but we will have more information about that coming soon. These are just a few links to useful websites that might be of interest to you. So I mentioned the Clean Coast programme earlier on, so there might be a Clean Coast group in your area that you'd like to link in with. Explore Your Shore is run by the National Biodiversity Data Centre, and it's just all information about the wildlife that we can find on our rocky shores and how you can get involved in citizen science and sending in any information about any animals or plants that you see anytime that you visit the beach. There's also the Irish Whale and Dolphin group there, which have lots of information about our whale and dolphin species. And now I am just going to quickly run through some other websites, not necessarily related to the marine theme, but they might be of use to you. There's mywaste.ie, so if you've got any questions about how you should correctly dispose of any materials, you can go to mywaste.ie. It's a really useful online resource. The Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland are offering free workshops for schools to learn all about renewable and sustainable energies. So you can go to the SEAI website if you'd like to apply for a workshop at your school. It's currently Climate Action Week. So if you're doing any specific climate actions or activities within your school this week, we'd love you to share them with us online using the hashtag Climate Action Week. So it's just an opportunity to kind of raise awareness of climate change. The Climate Ambassador Programme is open to secondary school students, third level students, and members of the general public as well. So this might be something that you yourselves might be interested in. It's basically kind of training people to be leaders on climate activism within their community, very much focusing on kind of what your own interests and skills are. So you don't have to be a scientist or an expert on climate change. A lot of training is provided, and it's just about kind of trying to get people involved in climate action. So you can find out more at climateambassador.ie, and the deadline for that is the 22nd of October. So that is this Sunday coming. You're very welcome to apply for the FEE Global Teacher Award. So applications are now open for that, and you can go to the link there to find out more about that. And then for secondary schools, the Climate Smart programme is for transition years and helping students to learn more about climate adaptation and active citizenship. So you can find out more about that at climatesmart.ie. If you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing at Green Schools, you can follow us on social media at Green Schools IRE. If you've got any queries throughout the year, you can email myself, Caoimhe, or my colleague Jennifer. You can see our email addresses there, and we will send those on to you as well. I'd ask you to bear with us because sometimes we're out at a lot of events and we might be a little bit slow responding to you, but we will get back to you as soon as we can. And there's a QR code there on the screen. If you want to sign up to our newsletter, you can scan that. So every month we send out an online newsletter with all of the kind of latest news and events across all the different Green Schools teams. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening and joining me this evening. I'm going to close out the presentation. We are going to send you on the slides and the links and all the templates and everything that I mentioned earlier on. So don't worry about that. But if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to